Hello everyone, imagine 20,000 years ago when a blind child was born. What do you think? And to be with him in the future, you do not need to imagine. I will now tell you everything how it was and how they were treated. Enjoy watching, everyone. Imagine for a second. You open your eyes and you see nothing. Not the light of the fire, not the faces of your parents, not the sky above your head. You were born blind. But not today, not in a city with hospitals, canes, and schools for the blind, but more than 20,000 years ago in the late Paleolithic era, when man had not yet tamed any animal, built a single house of stone, and the only light at night was the fire of the fire. It would seem that the answer is obvious. Such a child was doomed. A harsh world, an ice age, predators, famine. What are the chances of a blind baby? But the deeper anthropologists, paleogeneticists, and archaeologists dig into the past, the more unexpected the picture turns out to be. It turns out that blindness in the Stone Age had its own logic of survival and its own social role. In this video, we will explore 7 facts about what it would have been like to be born blind at the dawn of human history. Fact number 1. Being born blind was not an automatic death sentence. The first thing to debunk is the myth that any deviation from the norm in the Stone Age meant immediate death. Yes, child mortality in the Paleolithic was huge by modern standards. Barely half of the children born lived to adulthood. Against this background, a child with congenital blindness really had less chances than a sighted one. But less chances is not 0 chances. In hunter-gatherer societies, groups were small, usually between 20 and 50 people related by kinship. The investment in the survival of each child was high, and this was not just for sighted children. In addition, blindness has many causes and degrees of severity, from complete blindness to partially intact vision, and many forms of acquired blindness manifested themselves not at birth, but later when the child had already experienced sighted life. Fact number 2. Archaeology finds direct evidence of care for people with severe disabilities. For a long time, there was an image of primitive society as a kingdom of brute force. Excavations show the opposite. A classic example is the Shanidar cave in Iraqi Kurdistan, where the remains of a Neanderthal man were found who lived to 40 to 50 years despite an amputated arm, a damaged leg, and deep hearing loss. Such a person clearly survived thanks to the support of the group. An important caveat: some modern researchers argue about how helpless he really was. But the general body of data around the world, people with bone deformities and the consequences of severe injuries regularly lived to old age and received caring burials, suggests that caring for the weak was the norm, not the exception. Fact number 3. The hearing, smell, and touch of a blind person would develop to an impressive level. The brain of a person deprived of sight from birth is rebuilt. The occipital cortex is partially connected to the processing of sound and tactile sensations, cross-modal plasticity. For a Paleolithic person, this was a matter of survival. The ability to determine the approach of a predator by sound or by voice. The state of a tribe could save a life. The same applied to touch, recognizing plants by touch, and smell. In a world without synthetic smells, it was a much more informative channel. Fact number 4, a blind person could become an outstanding guardian of oral tradition. Without writing, all knowledge was transmitted orally. A blind person, devoid of visual distractions, could develop a more tenacious auditory memory. In a society where cultural memory rests on the memory of living people, such a keeper of myths and genealogies was extremely valuable. The image of the blind storyteller is a stable archetype in different cultures of the world, from ancient rhapsody to African traditions of oral storytelling, which hints at the deep historical roots of this role. Fact number 5. Craft by touch. Not all Paleolithic craft required sight. Weaving, processing hides, making ropes and bone needles relied heavily on touch and muscle memory of the hands. A blind member of the group could well specialize in similar tasks inside the camp, while others hunted. And this was not a second-rate, but a vital role. Fact number 6. Blindness may be more common than we think. Without antibiotics, cataract surgery, and vitamin supplements, common infections, nutritional deficiencies, and eye injuries were more likely to lead to blindness than they are today. So a blind person in Paleolithic society was not uncommon, but a familiar, expected phenomenon for which well-established social roles already existed. Fact number 7. What has changed and what has remained the same? Modern medicine, Braille, and technology give blind people incomparably more tools than were available in the Stone Age. But the neuroscience of compensation has not changed, and the main thing remains the same. The fate of a blind person is determined not by blindness itself, but by the willingness of society to see him as a full participant in life. That's it. To be born blind 20,000 years ago meant to be born in a world without medicine and writing, but not necessarily without care and role. Archaeology, step by step, destroys the myth of a merciless, primitive society. Such a child probably had a chance to find his place, a storyteller, a master, a keeper of tribal knowledge. If this video made you look at the story differently, like and subscribe to the channel.